Karl Franz, the current Elector Count of the Reichland, and the Emperor of Mankind himself. Well, what more can be said of this legend of a man? He has already proven himself sevenfold as perhaps one of the greatest emperors in Sigma himself. His innovations to the Empire, and especially its military, are manifold. Well, not only is he a great statesman, but a fearsome general as well. How many times has he led from the front, wielding the mighty Warhammer Galmaraz upon his fearsome griffin mount Deathclaw? Victories already against the Norscan raiders of the north and the greenskin hordes of the south. Truly, he is a man of the times. And these rumours of his ill health as of late? Well, total nonsense. I saw him on parade just the other day. No, I personally would pay no heed to such rumours. This is Red Moon Roleplaying. The air is thick with merriment and drinking as the three of you begin to enjoy yourself at this tavern. Granted, as you return to the table, Kruger, you can't quite shake off that something very strange just happened, but hopefully it's nothing too big. Maybe it's, as you thought earlier, something to do with some of the local gangs, but you didn't offend anyone. You told them politely that they had the wrong person, right? No one could get angry at you for that, could they?
Well, they could, if they were convinced that I was the correct person that they were actually looking for. So I am not unconcerned about what just happened. I'm a little bit worried about remaining here, actually. In a way, it might be better for us to be elsewhere for the night. So, do I mean, I obviously still remember what happened. Would it make sense for me to tell my companions about it? Or is this something that just immediately disappears from my memory?
I will leave that up to you.
In that case, I will just sit down next to Siegfrieda and Heynrik and go, something really weird happened as I was trying to pay. Some people were like making strange signs at me as if they were expecting me to reply back with some kind of secret handshake or something like that. They might have had me mistaken for, well, someone else. Or this could possibly be related to, you know, the thing we're carrying.
Well, apparently you do have one of those faces.
Heynrik is talking with his mouth full. Well, they're dangerous.
They did look a bit dangerous, yeah. Looked like some rough folks, you know. The kind of people I would have been hanging out with and know. I know the type.
And you don't think you're members of the same gang?
No. These are some Altdorf gang members or criminals or whatever they are. They certainly looked like they had been in a fight or two. And they did seem very insistent on wanting to speak to me. So if you don't have a problem with it, I would actually suggest that we maybe perhaps move to a different tavern for the night, just in case they decide to return.
I would rather we sleep on the water, and by that I mean in a barge, or boat of some variety. If there's people who are looking for you or someone who looks like you, they're not going to stop just because you're not in this tavern. We're best off moving as soon as we can.
You know, I would be fully in agreement with that. If we can get passage already now, that would not be bad. I'm certainly looking forward to getting to Bogenhaven.
Well, in the meantime, perhaps invest in a mask like mine, or just a rag that will cover your mouth and nose. At best, it will offer a disguise. At worst, it will at least conceal some of the smells from this place.
You're right. It would have a lot of different benefits. I think I'll do just that.
Well, let's drink up then and find somewhere to offer our services for passage if we can't afford it.
Yeah. Perhaps we can stow cargo, or I don't know. I mean, what do people do on these barges, Heynrik?
It depends mostly on where it's going and who you're talking to. For larger vessels, they tend to have a more experienced crew. You need people who can work the oars in any specific position, a lot less room for someone who's just strong enough, but a smaller skiff. They might be willing to let us sneak on, especially if they don't have a particularly heavy load to carry. It's easy enough to fill the space with passengers if you don't have any cargo.
That's true. Perhaps you can help us arrange passage on such a vessel.
Do you think there's some kind of award if you get a drink from every one of the 1,000 taverns over a certain period of time?
There just might be. But we do want to get on that skiff, huh?
You finish your meal and begin heading out of the tavern. As you say, it shouldn't be too hard to ask around, go down to the dockside itself. Except something occurs. A fortuitous thing, at least for you, Heynrik, because suddenly a voice calls out from behind. Oh, I don't believe it! Little Heynrik! It's little Heynrik! Me eyes don't deceive me, lads, that is little Heynrik! Ha ha!
Oh, no one has called me Little Heynrik in a very long time, so I think you and I might be disagreeing on the nature of good news or fortuitous.
Well, as you turn, you certainly recognize the man. How could you not? Joseph Quarterin, boatmaster. Yes, bloody hell, it's him. His beard is a little greyer, his paunch a little wider, but of course you remember this man. How could you not? He, again, worked with your father several times back in the day. You even were at one point told to call him uncle. Whether or not you did is up to you, but that's him. He's coming over, already one hand with a bottle in it, and beginning to extend his very large arms to embrace you. Ah, it is you, my boy, champion of the realms! Ha ha ha!
Oh, by the grace of Grandfather Reich, Uncle Joseph! And I will absolutely indulge in some nice, friendly, masculine hugging.
He gives you a firm hug and goes, ah, indeed, that's right. You know what I always say, my boy, the grandfather provides. The grandfather provides as long as you're willing to get your hands in the muck. Look at you. So, how many cities are you the champion of now, then? You gotta tell me.
Oh, it's a bit more, I'm still training, is the thing. You know, I don't want to enter into the ring and end up run through my first time. That'd be very embarrassing.
Aye, lad, that would be quite embarrassing, wouldn't it? Oh, hello, me manners, sorry, Madam, Joseph Quarterin, barge master captain at your service, he says, and begins to do a mock bow towards you, Siegfrieda.
Oh, it's truly my honour alone to be in the presence of someone we so eminently need right now.
Need? Oh, whatever I could do for you and your friends, of course I'll be happy to oblige. What's wrong, Heynrik? You needing something? What, do you need a lift to your next competition? Has Heynrik told you? He's a champion, he is. He's going to be in all the imperial pageants and all the competitions, isn't that right?
The only competition we had heard about you wanting to enter, Heynrik, was in drinking a flagon in every single one of these taverns.
Oh, a man can have many dreams, Siegfrieda, I will say, trying not to embarrass myself in front of my old friend and my new friend at the same time. But actually, yes, Joseph, it turns out I expected there to be a competition here, but it appears that recent events have postponed that particular calling. So the next one on the dueling circuit, because of course there's a dueling circuit, there's a dueling circuit, it happens to be in Bogenhafen, and I was wondering if you or any of ours were heading that direction.
Am I heading down to Bogenhafen, Heynrik? No, of course I'm not. The Schaffenfest being only a couple of days away, why would I want to trade at the greatest festival Bogenhafen has? You silly boy, of course I'm going to Bogenhafen. How convenient.
Well, of course, and in that case, my friends here would be more than happy to provide the labors that you need in exchange for passage. That is, if you have room enough on the journey.
Well, as a matter of fact, I have to admit, I was looking for a few extra hands on cargo, and, a few hands on the boat, as it were. Old Grim and Warder, they do their best, but I was looking around to hire some people. But, you know what? How about this? And I won't hear you say no. 2 silvers each for every day. All I ask is a little hand getting some cargo on, and then, you're welcome to board on the boat. You're welcome to be on the boat. I'll even offer you a room for the night on the boat. How's that sound, my friends?
I'm going to haggle. I'm going to say, Oh, my father would never forgive me if I'd lost my touch on an oar. You know I'm worth more than that. And try to bargain him down a little bit.
Please roll haggle.
Okie, I have a 35, which means a 74 is not going to do it.
He gives you a grin and pats you on the head. Now, you're forgetting that I'm going to obviously be giving you a lovely meal today and a lovely night. Come on, you can't completely rob me. 2 silvers is fair. Oh, look at this one trying to out-haggle me, his old boatmaster.
Wouldn't be riverfolk if I didn't try.
That's true. So yes, how convenient. I happen to be heading off first thing tomorrow morning, but I tell you what, until then, we've got a day. I insist. All of you, we're going down the Boatman Inn. Let me treat you to a slap-up dinner.
Well, we've just eaten, but who are we to decline?
That sounds lovely.
What's going on, Heynrik? In all this excitement, again, lowering my voice, trying to take my companion to the side. I have no idea what we just agreed to.
Roughly how much of your medical training has involved moving heavy things from one place to another?
Well, cadavers can weigh a surprising amount, especially if they've been immersed in water.
So yeah, that's the gist of it. My friend here, in exchange for 2 silvers and a little bit of heavy lifting, is going to take us down to pursue, and I will reach out and kind of give Kruger a smack to get his attention, to our friend's destiny, as it were.
Well, I can't say I'm terribly used to lifting crates and barrels, but I'm sure I will manage it.
Can you handle an oar?
I may be able to handle 2.
Well, we'll see. We might have you avoiding heavy lifting duty yet.
I'm not incapable, Heynrik. I have worked with manual labour before.
Oh, no, not to imply that you don't have the skills. It's just that river work, they can be treacherous. I will launch into a story about how, God, you stick the oar in the wrong place and next thing you know, the boat's capsized. It's very serious craft.
I'll walk off halfway in your story.
I'm listening very carefully. Taking mental notes, wanting to learn this craft as much as I can during the trip. It seems interesting.
It certainly will be. And so the next few hours pass quite quickly. You are led down to the dockside, where you are introduced to, apparently, the boat you're going to be working on, at least for a few days. The Berry Bell. You remember this boat, of course, Heynrik. It's a rather impressive barge by all standards. It has 2 main masts, full sails, a nice front where there's a nice little bit of imperial doctrine, letting people know this is an official trader's boat, a nice little skull on top as well, just to make sure people take you seriously. And of course the boat itself has a nice big central area where inside there are several cabins as well as underneath, enough for all of you to have a little area to sleep in at least. The boat itself is loading up large crates, seeming to be mainly salted pork, but also a little bit of brandy as well. Not a bad haul, Heynrik. You'll know that if he sells all this successfully, he could be getting quite a few gold crowns, if all goes well. The day goes reasonably quickly, as you are all expected simply to help out. However you help out is up to you, but generally it's moving crates on board, helping fasten ropes. You're introduced to 2 other crew members as well. Older man by the name of Grimm, he doesn't speak much, and Walder, a woman you remember, she was a lot younger when you last saw her, Heynrik, but now she must be in her late 30s, long raven black hair, quite a good seaman, you seem to recall. Friendly folk, and honestly, it's not that bad work. Joseph isn't a taskmaster. As long as you're hauling 1 crate, at least a little, he's happy. Would you all like to roll endurance, but give yourself a +10 to the roll? This isn't too laborious work.
Oh, I've been doing this work for my whole life until I escaped. I have 4 success levels.
I have a failure, so I will use a point of fortune to reroll. No luck there. I get an even worse result. About 6 levels of failure.
What about you, Siegfrieda?
So I failed. I'm also spending a point of fortune here. I don't particularly want to throw my back out this early. No, I fail. I fail by a margin of 10.
Siegfrieda, your failure isn't so bad. To be fair, Joseph is quite happy to take that crate off you with a gentlemanly smile. So you are only a little bit tired, but unfortunately for you, Kruger, this is harder work than you were expecting. You are now a little fatigued. That's going to be a -10 to your rolls until you get a nice proper rest.
I look to Heynrik. How do you... Was this what you were doing every day? This is a lot of work.
It's a little bit heavier than the purses you're used to lifting, huh?
Yes. Yeah, a lot heavier than that.
You get used to it.
I really hope I do.
Swap me for this one. I will set what I hope is a lighter one down, going to pick his up. Is it the case that Kruger has actually been struggling with something fairly light?
Yes, it does actually look like his crate was empty.
I think I'm nice enough to not embarrass him in front of everybody, but nevertheless, I will. If it's light enough, I can just stack it on top of mine and be like, "Oh, I've got this. Just make a second trip. It's fine." Just trying to, not because I care that much what Kruger thinks. It's because I don't want the boatmen to think I've brought a bunch of assholes on their ship.
You are able to do this again with your success levels. This is almost easier than you remember. Maybe for a moment you were a bit worried that all your fancy duelist skills were making you not quite as tough as you used to be, but if anything, it seems to be the opposite, right?
I still have those calluses on my hand.
And so, the day's work comes to an end, as you all find yourself in another inn. This one, the Boatman Inn. This inn is a lot smaller than the previous inn, a lot less people, but they are a loud lot. You can tell immediately, Siegfrieda, these are all either river folk or sailors. Clearly a sailor's inn. This is, after all, really close to the river as opposed to some of the other taverns. Still, there is food and a table, and Joseph is paying for it all. He's handed you all, in fact, actually a bottle of something. What do you do?
I'll say thank you. I salute the boatmen, the sailors. I will take a sip of whatever is being served. Don't want to intoxicate myself too much.
I think I would like to take a moment before we get started to warn Siegfrieda and Kruger about the riverfolk drinking tradition. In royal situations, you know how you're not supposed to eat until the king starts eating? This is quite the opposite. You're not allowed to stop drinking until the captain stops drinking. So pace yourself accordingly.
Well, that would have been delightful to know before I took a sip.
I look at my bottle very worriedly, given how exhausted I am. I feel like I'm about to fall asleep already now, and I'm going to have to add all this alcohol to it as well. Well, hey, there are worse things, I guess. For the Emperor...
I will launch into a traditional and raucous toast to our most gracious host and employer.
Indeed. Well, again, the pleasure is mine, Heynrik. Again, it's been so long. Did he tell you? Once he was this high. He gestures to his lower knee. Always following his dad around and going like, "Can I be the captain of the boat? Bless him.
It's stunned silence. Everyone knows the feeling I have right now when your parents are telling embarrassing stories in front of people that probably shouldn't know them.
And what's the biggest boat you've captained, Heynrik? I say, taking a swig.
As it happens, I chose a different career path before one would normally be given their captaincy. But this is a bit of a sore spot for me. My family has been on the river for generations, and the idea that I had abandoned that line of work to go pursue something that is, as you can tell by Joseph, it's a little foolish. There's pride there, but there's also ribbing if you're familiar with the culture. So Siegfrieda has unintentionally, or perhaps intentionally, stepped on a bit of a cultural landmine. Yeah, it's seen as a bit uppity, a bit highfalutin, full of himself would be the reputation that Heynrik would have from people who were talking behind his back. Too good for the river, that kind of attitude.
True. Although you have to give credit, Joseph actually was always very supportive of it. Granted, Maybe there's a little bit of embarrassment because he clearly already thinks you've gone and made it, and you haven't really even started. Been a few years.
I don't have it in me to let him down, so I'm gonna lean into it, and then I'm just gonna eat the mockery from Kruger and Siegfrieda later.
And so, drinks are passed round, and day becomes evening. It's at this point that Joseph does begin to becoming quite inquisitive of the other two of you. So, Kruger, looks to me like you're not that good on a boat, but that's alright, you did your best. So, what's this all about going down to Bogenhafen then? You accompanying Heynrik to, I don't know, help him out with his competition?
Yeah, something like that, yeah. He's a really good guy, I say. Clearly having become quite intoxicated from, the exhaustion and then now adding the alcohol to it. He's my new best friend. And I kind of feign that I've gotten a little bit too drunk to not have to answer any more questions.
Oh, well, of course. And again, the Schaffenfest, I do know there's a big old joust going on, but I don't think you'll be able to do that one, Heynrik. But I'm sure there'll be a couple of brawls where you can show off. Granted, maybe not as impressive as places in Outdorf, but it's the Schaffenfest.
Can I be your squire? Is that what it's called? I can be a squire, Heynrik, right?
Oh, absolutely. There are some duties involved, but I'd be happy to have you aboard. And of course, every duelist needs a doctor to stitch them up, and I'll gesture to Siegfrieda, trying to, with my eyes, maybe say like Ixnay on the Ivisection Vey, as you discuss with my friend here.
I will raise an eyebrow at that. Yes, I would love nothing more than to support you as you throw yourself into battles for honor and wealth and have to pick up the pieces afterwards. Yes, that would truly be a wonderful use of my skills. That is, Joseph, why we are going to Bogenhafen.
I see. Well, it makes perfect sense to me. He keeps saying Schaffenfest, and Siegfrieda, it does actually elicit something in you. A memory. Long ago. A positive one, you think? You think you know what the Schaffenfest is? Isn't it like a big festival they have in Bogenhafen? But again, the memories are from a very long time ago.
Yeah, it's been a very long time since I was last in Bogenhafen. I was born there. And I only spent the first few years of my life there before I was sold, given away, or whatever the case might have been that resulted in my entering a physician's employ being a strong word. But I've since researched Bogenhafen, partly out of curiosity, to know, I guess, what my destiny would have been had I remained there. So, yeah, the Schaffenfest is familiar to me. I'm not particularly looking forward to going back there. There's nothing I expect to find. Certainly no one that would recognise me. But I'm aware that traumas can be hidden around any corner, especially when you start delving into your early life, and there's a part of me that, although I've been lightly mocking Heynrik for his familial relationship here with Joseph and the general camaraderie over what seems like quite trivial things, there's a larger part that envies that. I've certainly never had any kind of stranger approach me with talk of my past and the things I wanted to do, or bragging about how I played as a child. So it's warming on one hand, but it's also cooling on another. So I just smile thinly. Schaffenfest, it's big news in Bogenhafen. I'm sure we will want to get involved in it.
I reckon you would. Plenty of other opportunities for work there, I can't imagine. Again, the Schaffenfest, biggest festival, happens in Bogenhafen every year. People come from all over. I'm hoping to unload all that brandy and at least half the salted pork.
I imagine you will reach every success, Joseph, and hopefully we will be able to help you with that unloading.
I am most gracious. But again, don't worry too much about it. You're friends of Heynrik, that means you are friends of mine. I'm happy to give you any help you can. Besides, it's nice to have a few extra people on the road. Well, the river road, as it were. There's been a few rumours lately. I don't know if you've heard, Heynrik. People saying some of the waterways aren't as safe as they used to be.
Even this far west?
Aye. Lots of, unpleasant sightings. Hell, I even knew a good friend of mine totally got a, he kind of, lowers his tone. Totally, got a little, something happened to him. He grew an extra pair of eyes. We had to, had to burn him. It was very sad, actually. He takes a swig of his drink.
That is something that I would like to pursue with my friend maybe later in private, as not to ruin the mood.
Indeed. Anyway, why don't we all start heading back to the boat and call it a night, I reckon. Don't want to hang around outdoors too long. After all, our place going bloody mad. I'm sure you've noticed.
Yeah, we did. Everyone seemed really, not very nice to each other. And I'm kind of swaying back and forth, clearly under the influence.
Well, of course not. And you know why?
No. Is it because of the miasma?
Miasma? No, my boy. What does miasma mean, Heynrik?
I think he means, and then I looked at Siegfried and I was like, was that to do with the shit or the sex?
I take another deep drink before answering. Well, it's illness, Joseph. You know, when a plague cuts through a place and makes everyone sick, in the mind or in the body.
Oh, I see. Oh, no, it's not that. It's all the bloody nobles.
There are more than usual, and I'm betraying myself here.
Of course there are, Heynrik. It's the bloody capital. There's hundreds of them, and you know what I always say, one or two nobles, not so bad, but you get them all together, and of course everyone's going to get angry and upset. They're always so bloody, oh, look at me, I'm better than you.
He's not the first person who's made that exact comment.
Well, all the better reason to get out of here as soon as possible, then, yeah?
Yes, I don't think there's much keeping us here.
Precisely. Especially because half of them are bloody inbred, aren't they? And the other half bloody are mad. Still, at least the Emperor's alright. Did you see the big procession? I saw that as well from the other side. Bloody hell. At least he's okay. I mean, you know, some people have been saying he's been a bit unwell lately. But how unwell can you be if there's been like 4 of those just in the last month?
Four emperors?
No, parade, Siegfried, a parade. 4 emperors, not in our lifetime.
Couldn't he just, touch his own skin and get well, then?
I don't know, can he?
Maybe if he cut a sliver off and boiled it up with something. I don't know. I'm not an alchemist.
Maybe we should suggest that. Maybe we could make we could send a letter.
Maybe you should sit down.
Oh, I don't know, Heynrik, I like your friend. That's right, you send a letter to the Emperor himself suggesting he should cut off one of his limbs so he can heal himself of the limb cut. That's a good one. I like this one, Heynrik.
We saw his guard impale a peasant through the head.
Oh, well, that's what you get for going too close to the Emperor, isn't it? Some people, eh? I told you, outdoorfers. Bloody mad, the lot of them.
It does, I have to be honest, strike me as strange. And maybe it's the drink talking, that the Emperor, God's bless his name, and long may he reign, adorns himself in such glittering finery, designed to attract people to him like moths, and then when they get too close, they get cut down. It's, a paradox, I think, is what it's called.
Well, I don't know what a paradox is, but I suppose you've got a point there, Siegfried. But then again, isn't it all just to show us all he's alright? Because again, he's clearly fine. If he's going around parades every week or so, then all those people saying, actually, he's been a bit ill lately. That's what I heard on the boat anyway. Clearly a load of nonsense, isn't it, Heynrik?
Of course. I mean, for one thing, his skin and the disease, we've established that part. I don't understand how someone like that gets sick. And if it is miasma, I'm sure the Emperor stays further away from the shit than most of us do. It's gotta be nonsense.
Damn straight it is. I personally feel blessed. I think seeing the Emperor is a sign that our journey is gonna go very well indeed. Anyway, come on, my friends, let's get back to the boat. One more drink for the road. Hey, for the grandfather Reich.
Yes, let's sail under the effect of all of this booze.
Well, we're not gonna sail right now, Siegfried. First thing in the morning, though. First thing in the morning.
Oh, I was speaking in all sincerity. I'm quite up for a jaunt down the canals.
Ha ha! He comes over and gives you a firm, friendly little punch on the shoulder. I like this one too! Heynrik, I told you, you always have good choice in friends. Fine lot this too. Come on, Kruger, come on, Siegfried, let's get back to the boat. Ha ha! And he leads the way out, very drunk and very happy. And so you begin making your way back down to the docks. Again, night has fallen on the city of Altdorf. There are several blazing torches, so the streets aren't completely unlit, although of course you're all aware that quite a few of the streets are now quite dark, and if you didn't have a torch on you, you wouldn't be able to see anything. But no one travels around in the darkness unless they're a moron. Still, you get down to the docks, although there is one final thing that draws your attention. There seems to be a man on some sort of podium just before you get to your boat. He is covered in sores, he has some sort of ragged cloak on, and he's shouting at people. But people seem fine with the shouting, no one's that bothered by it. As you pass, he seems to be saying something that catches your ear, Heynrik. Hurry, hear ye! I see darkness gathering as the last house of joy falls. Beware, for shadows over Bogenhafen stir. Then, beloved Moor, resplendent in vestments of green, stands astride Sigma's great river. Yea, I see death on the Reich, and I despair, for the stained hand guides the once mighty lord, and this power behind the throne curses us all. Lo, the horned rat then claims the broken king atop his throne of lies, and the white walls fall, leaving our empire in ruins. Tremble in fear, ye mighty, for the end times have come! The end times have come! And the man begins to convulse and falls over very dramatically. Although you'll notice that no one seems to care and they just walk by. But what about you?
I would say it's not my first experience with the superstitious agitator type. Every village has one, right? And of course they get a bit more of a following in the sticks, as you know. But I mean, in the city you'd expect plenty of that. I don't know that my superstitions go that far, but then again, the experience with some old friends has had me wondering. They talked about encountering it through the air. Siegfried seemed not to understand, and whether or not it's something that's contagious or through bloodline, both of those are kind of pointing at me in a direction. Kruger, first time in the big city, I'll flash him the null signal. Is that common in these places as well?
And having gotten out into the, well, not fresh air, but air at least, I have regained my senses a little bit. Oh, yeah. They do it everywhere. It's the same back in Nuln, too. I think they do that whole fainting bit at the end to kind of make it more dramatic. At least some of them do. Yeah. The end times, though, very, very normal, very common topic.
Okay. I'm sorry, just, taking notes for when I have to be at court. Don't want to embarrass myself. Making a very clumsy attempt to distract from my actual concern.
Still, as you think about it, one thing sounded a bit odd, because didn't he say Bogenhafen during that long spiel?
Well, I was just about to say, for someone who hasn't been that far out of town, there seem to be dark shadows everywhere I'm going, which, I'm not wild about, personally. It's more about the degree to which I share that fear with the others. I think I would ask Joseph about the way that the nobles were being weird. He mentioned that, and then he kind of recanted and said, well, just because there were a lot of nobles. But I would say, if there's any rumors about what's going on in Bogenhafen. Of course, they have the festival going on, but I mean, people seem agitated here. Is there any chance that there's something that's gone downriver to them as well?
Oh, I bloody hope not. No, why would something be wrong down in Bogenhafen?
I don't know. There was and I'll just gesture off into the crowd into the streets where the beggars might be, just hearing things. And I know I'm supposed to be the fantasy duelist, but you've spent more time in the bigger cities than I ever have. So I'm just trying to sort out what's real and what's some deranged art project from a mummer.
I don't know, lad, I don't know. I'll tell you, this wasn't always this way. Outdoor didn't used to be so bad. But I don't know, lately these days, something in the air. But like I said, I reckon it's because of all those bloody nobles. You see, somewhere like Bogenhafen, there's far less of them. And of course, guess how many nobles there are on my boat? None. You're going to have a lovely time.
I'm making a joke to myself. Well, there's one. You just don't know it yet. But that is something that I will just keep on my face with a smile.
Any thoughts from yourself, Siegfried, as you just make your way down to the docks at night after seeing this man seemingly pass out? Although, granted, Kruger does make a point that maybe it was a bit too dramatic for an actual seizure.
Well, there's a curiosity, of course, but I'm also dreadfully drunk. And if there's one thing I have learned from my mentor, the good doctor, it's that operating or even diagnosing someone while under the effects of intoxication is not something a professional should do. So, I guess we could make him comfortable at least. Alright, I'll break from the group. I've talked myself into it.
You break over and go over to the man, currently unconscious, although... No, he's not. The second you come over, he actually opens his eyes and gives you a smile and says, "Oh, my dear, thank you. Oh, how kind of you, how kind. Perhaps you have a spare copper?"
I'm afraid I do not. I was concerned that you were unwell.
No spare coppers. No, don't worry, I'm fine. Other than, of course, in the end times, which will destroy us all.
Good evening to you, sir.
You turn away and you can see he looks slightly disappointed, but clearly he was fine. And you begin heading back to the boat. And so, as you arrive on the boat by the river, you will be directed down to your rooms, but then Joseph goes off to his cabin, and the other two people seem to already be asleep, so if you did want to just sit on the boat for a little bit and discuss things privately, you're pretty sure no one will be eavesdropping.
The walk has helped clear my head a little. Not to mention the solid food that we have finally been enjoying. And taking in the night air, I do look to my companions. So do we have concerns? Are we continuing with our original plan? Well, when I say original plan, we're not joining up with an expedition to go to the Grey Mountains. Are we continuing with our second plan?
I look to the both of you and, well, if you are still on board, I certainly am. I think it's going to work out quite well for us. I think everything is lined up just right. And to be honest, I kind of want to get out of here. That experience at the tavern with those strange men, I don't know if it's connected to what we're carrying, but I have a sinking feeling that it might be connected with that. And if that's the case, I definitely don't want to stay here any longer. Bogenhafen would be safer, and I'm really curious to see if I'll be able to get away with being the good Lieberung, if I can actually convince them that I am in fact old Castor.
Well, I mean, the risk, Kruger, is obviously your head. If you get found out, if we get found out to have committed such a fraud over such a measure of coin, we will all hang, or surely be meeting the block.
You're right.
But with that in mind, we need to think of where we go. Let us say everything falls into plan. we end up with a chest full of gold and we're celebrating. We would need to then make sure that we were leaving any area where your counterpart, who you are impersonating, is not known. Because all you need is for someone to come up to you and question you on a subject about which you know nothing, and they will see through the subterfuge. We need you to take up a flight of fancy, decide now that you have inherited all this coin, wanderlust is in your soul, and you need to see the other parts of the world, because remaining anywhere near the source of this gold is going to result in someone punching through the disguise.
Well, see, there you have it. We'll end up on an expedition with a noble no matter what.
Indeed, but hopefully we will do so with lots of coin. 20,000?
As you're taking the lion's share of the risk, Kruger, and as 20,000 cannot be split 3 ways equally, I would suggest that you do take the majority.
Well, that's very generous of you. I would be prepared to share it as equally as possible, though. I wouldn't even know of this if not for your reading skills.
Well, while we're on this barge, I may have to help you learn some letters, because we don't know if your counterpart is a reader. We have to assume that he was literate.
Oh, yes.
And therefore, if you are presented with a document to sign and cannot make out scratchings from words, we may be in trouble.
Due respect to Kruger's brains, surely there's got to be some kind. Maybe he fell off a horse and memory that happens. I've heard the stories about the crazy nobles kicked in the head by a horse, went off and built strange castles.
Or perhaps I'm simply just not someone who has the time to read. I leave that to my subordinates.
Possible. Why not engineer both? As we're on our road, or on the river, I'll do my best to teach you the basics of our language, and if there's no progress made by the time we reach our destination, I'll make an incision like so about your head that makes it look as if someone has had to access your brain to determine damage.
Oh, alright. It makes sense. That certainly gives me plenty of motivation to learn as much as possible then.
No, I promise it wouldn't hurt. It may just leave a scar in a roughly circular fashion around the top of your head. Wear a hat and you'll be fine.
Always wear a hat then.
If you don't want her to do it, I can, and I'll tap my rapier.
Heynrik, as you're saying this and speaking, it's then that you notice some people are approaching the boat. You notice because they're holding a torch. Of course they're holding a torch, otherwise they'd be in complete darkness on this part of the wharf anyway. What do you do? They seem to be coming towards the boat, trying to get your attention.
Do they look like dock folk?
No, they do not.
Do they look like guards?
No, they look like travelling folk, maybe merchants, you can't quite tell in the dark. But they don't look like guards or a dock worker you've seen.
I will, of course, point this out to my compatriots, but I am, for many reasons, not interested in letting them get on the boat. So I'm going to put on airs, actually, and pretend to be just a plain old dock worker person. I want to descend the gangway and maybe intercept them out there and be like, oh, sorry, bill of lading's full, can't take any more cargo.
The two men nod, one of them leans forward. No, I don't want to bother you any, just was wondering if you knew where the old Crooked Inn was. Kruger. You begin to peer at these two men being lit by their torches, and you recognize them immediately, especially the bold one. These are the two men from the tavern who wanted something from you. This is no coincidence. They've clearly followed you to the barge.
You have listened to an episode of Red Moon Roleplaying, where we play the legendary campaign The Enemy Within for Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay 4th Edition, published by Cubicle 7. In this first part of the series, we are tackling Book 1, Enemy in Shadows. Joining us as players in this series are none other than Aaron Hammonds from Queen's Court Games and our dear friend Matthew Dawkins. The music was made by Flowers for Body Snatchers, Word Clock, Metatron Omega, Aegersonus, Apocryphus, Halgrath, and Northumbria, featuring a number of collaborations with other artists, and was used with permission from their label, Cryochamber. Check out their website at cryochamber.bandcamp.com or their YouTube channel for some moody dark ambient for your gaming table. We would like to give massive thanks to our champions of the Red Moon, Martin Heuschober, Nastasia Raulerson, Simon Cooper, David, Julia, Camilla, Ludwig Manford, Bob Lange, Julián, Cameron, Xabier, and Antxon for their generous support. And we'd of course also like to thank all of our other patrons. Without your support, the show would not be possible. If you want to support our work, please check us out on Patreon. You can get access to bonus campaigns for Cult of Divinity Lost and Coriolis there, as well as get early and raw access to all of our recordings. You can also hear your name read on the show as a champion of the Red Moon, as well as play Cult with us. Most importantly, that support is what keeps the show going, so do check us out there. Thank you again for listening, and remember, Skaven are definitely not real.